You must sacrifice someone to awaken God. Now, before I get into what and who you actually need to sacrifice, I want to share with you my definition of God. Now, my definition of God, it transcends all religion and all separation from the source. I believe that God is the source of creation. So when Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the quantum field, I believe that's God. When I believe sacred numerology talks about the one, that's God. Or in Taoism, the Tao, the natural essence to life, the way, that is God to me. Now, why is it so important for you to understand the source of creation? Because in the Bible, they say that man was created in the image of God. So to me, that insinuates the idea that man is God, but man is the microcosm and God is the macrocosm. We know that in order to change our lives, in order to manifest better things, in order to create an experience we want to have, we have to align with that frequency in the universe. We have to align with that abundance. We have to align with that experience. But we will never be able to do that if we do not truly understand the definition of man, of what makes us special, about our natural inherent ability to create. And I'm going to put that on display for you in this video. I do not have any script. This was the only thing I wrote down. And I'm going to be present, and I'm going to naturally let this wisdom and understanding come through you. And I'm going to prove that it is our natural state to create. So how am I going to prove that it is our natural state to create? So if we know God is the source of creation, it is a natural state. One of the best ways to understand that is the synergy of Taoism and Dr. Joe Dispenza's understanding of the quantum field. So in Taoism, the Tao is the way. Now, the way of life is a natural harmony. Think about life itself. There is a natural, self-organizing power to the universe. It's the thing that keeps your heart beating. It's the thing that turns our oxygen into carbon dioxide so the trees can breathe off of that too. It's the thing that makes sure trees internalize sunlight and turn that into oxygen for us. It is a natural organizing power. It is perfection. It is harmony. It is rhythm, because it all comes from the source. That's what we said. God is the source of creation, which means that everything inherently, this natural harmony, this way of life, comes from that being, comes from that existence. Now, what is the source? We talk about the mirror principle. We talk about manifestation. But what people really need to understand is that there is no separation between mind and matter, right? What you want and what you have, there is no separation. Now, in the past, scientists like Newton and Descartes, they originally thought that mind and matter were separate. They thought the universe was a mechanistic system, which means that there is a natural kind of cause and effect, ABC chain of reaction that creates the experience we have. Until Einstein came around, and everyone knows this equation, use this to disprove the fact and insinuate that mind is matter. Now, how could mind be matter? And why is it so important for you to understand this concept before you start to sacrifice someone to awaken the God within you, awaken the potential to create? You were created within the image of God. The creator embodies the traits of creation. Mind equals matter. The creator is the creation, and I'm going to show you how. So I've been reading a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Now, breaking the habit of being yourself is all about the fact that we have the ability to use our thoughts and emotions to create a better life for ourselves. But in order to do that, we need to understand life and how we create. So bear with me as I become Picasso right now. You've all seen this image from this is the atom, right? Protons, neutrons, electrons, all floating around. This is what science class taught us was the foundation of our experience, the foundation of the physical world. But what if I told you that it wasn't this? That when we use the quantum model, we come to learn that the electron and the subatomic particles is 99% energy, meaning that we are more nothing than we are something. It's 99.999%, which means that the physical experience we have is 0.0001% of reality, and that everything can be reduced to the subatomic level, to the fact that infinite potentiality is waiting to be collapsed into experience. Now, let's break down this concept and we'll kind of synergize it to the next level. This should be liberating for you because it means that nothing is set in stone. Now, the electron cloud proves to us that our mind and our matter exists in two states at the same time, right? We know that the subatomic particles exist as waves and they exist as particles. What does this mean? It means that the foundation of our reality exists as infinite potentiality until there is an observer to collapse it. Once someone observes the electron cloud, the particle appears. So it goes from wave to particle. And then it'll disappear and go back to being a wave. Someone will observe it again and it'll appear over here. Now, what this basic, very simple explanation of mine I aim to convey to you is that this proves that infinite potential exists right now, that everything you want and more exists right now on a quantum level, on a fabric level of our reality. The electron cloud will appear in an infinite number of waves or an infinite number of particles when collapsed and observed. This is what the observer effect is. We learned through the double slit experiment that light particles are influenced by the observer. So if we know that the fabric of our subatomic experience, the quantum field, is an infinite potentiality of waves, that means there is an ocean of experience for us to collapse into our reality. Now let's start tying this full circle. I said God is the source of creation. On the fabric level, this is what that is. This is what quantum physicists have decided to uncover and understand to be the nature of our experience. Now, if you can really conceptualize this with me for a second, you're looking at me, you can hear the whiteboard, you can see me drawing, but all of this is actually just potential energy lowering itself into a lower frequency because physical matter is a lower frequency. Now let me draw this out for you because you're going to start to see how magical and how powerful the infinite organizing power of the universe is. And once I kind of conclude this topic, we're going to talk about who you need to sacrifice to make sure you can be in this natural state of creation at all times. So I'm going to do my best to draw this right now. So let's pretend this is the electron cloud, right? I'm going to put a little particle here. We're just going to go EC for the electron cloud. You know what? Maybe that's not PG for YouTube. Let's redo that, and we'll draw the spectrum in another way. So we're just going to go electron cloud. We're going to go 99% energy. So you know that this is that experience. And then let's just use a person right now. And this person has money. And they have success. And they have a watch, right? This is to signify the material. Now, when we start to understand the energetics, we understand that everything is a frequency, right? Everything starts here, but the frequency on this realm, on this spectrum, is the only thing that changes. So the frequency of all energy is this really quick, highly resonating pattern. Now the frequency of the material experience is this really slow wave. Now, what is the magic? What is the magic in all this? We know that because this is 99% energy, that energy is conscious, which means it is aware. But what does this mean for us? We are consciousness, we are energy, and we embody these traits so we can actually influence that field. But the ultimate state of this energy is a natural organizing power, which means it'll become a molecule. That's the little atom we drew. The first step, it'll become a molecule. And then it'll become DNA. And then it'll become an organ like the heart. The energy is lowering itself in frequency into the physical world out of a natural, organizing, harmonious pattern. This is what they say when the angels fell from heaven. The particles, the angles of light, fell into matter. We are no separate is what I'm trying to show you. This is so magical. I'm even sitting here knowing this, looking at this, like, holy shit, this happens. And when you can understand this, you understand that this entire experience is creation. This entire experience is God itself. You are no separate than the Creator. The creation is no separate. And when you can truly start to transcend and understand and integrate this concept, you start to awaken your power as a creator. Now, Dispenza says that we use our thoughts and emotions to create a reality, and they need to be in coherence, right? Let's look at the wave patterns again. If you're thinking a super positive thought that's got this high resonating frequency, but you're feeling an old reality, you're feeling sad, you're feeling anger, you're feeling guilt, this is misaligned. But if this frequency is what you think and this frequency is what you feel, then you're in coherence. You're starting to create, you're starting to communicate with this infinite potentiality field, and you're starting to collapse that reality. It's starting to come back to you. That's what being attractive is. That is the law of attraction. The energetics are attracting more of that frequency into your life. Now, it's time for us to move on to talking about who we need to sacrifice in order to make sure we can do this effortlessly every day. Now, I want to put a lot of emphasis on the word effortless because we all feel it. We all feel the boring friction, the pain of the heavy lifting of life and having to go to work and having to do things we don't want to do that makes us feel out of alignment. So we're going to circle back to a Taoist concept. So the Taoist concept of Wu Wei. This means effortless action. Now, we all want effortless action. Let's be real. We all want an experience that feels natural. We want an experience that feels magical. We want to know that we are manifesting and creating and experiencing the synchronicities of our power as a creator. But how do we do this? How do we make this the natural state? How do we make effortless action the natural state? Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm going to be raw with you guys because this was a revelation I had this weekend and it changed everything for me. And it's going to change everything I do about content going forward. I originally would be in a place where I'd be like, oh, what's the best performing content? How can I recreate it? How can I engineer my success? Until I had this download. Why would I have to engineer anything if the natural state of the universe is perfect harmony? If the natural state is effortless action? And you attain this effortless action through alignment. So let's kind of break it down on a personal level, and then we'll break it down on a universal level. And we'll truly understand the concept of awakening God. All right, so let's go here. Let's go here. So I'm going to break this down for you on how I experience it in life, how you experience it in life, and why there's friction in between you and this natural state of creation. So a lot of us experience life through reflecting on the past, reflecting on experiences that have caused trauma, have caused pain, have caused suffering. And this makes us place a certain expectation or a certain pressure on life, right? We have an idea of what we want our future to be like because we definitely do not want it to reflect our past. Now, what's the issue with this? There's a separation in our being. We have created a fragment. We have left a past version of ourselves traumatized in the past, and that energy is sitting in that potential reality, right? The past, the present, and the future exist right now. And in that Dr. Joe Dispenza book, he talks about how this Israeli scientist did an experiment at the hospital, and people came in with the sepsis disease, the sepsis infection, and a lot of them were sick, 3,000 of them. And they put a double-blind experiment into the hospital to see if prayer could impact these people's health. What they found is that half of the subject group that was prayed for spent less time in the hospital and their fever went away quicker. It was statistically significant evidence, and this experiment was run in 2000. But guess what? The people that were in the hospital from 1990 to 1996. So there was statistically significant evidence that the patients randomly selected in 2000 off a list, when prayed for and looked back, actually had a more healthy and quicker recovery time to overcome sepsis and come out of the hospital. This proves that our thoughts, our emotions, the prayer impacts the past, it impacts the future, and it impacts the present. Now, if we know everything's energy, everything exists everywhere all at once. That's kind of the whole point of the quantum field. If you have this version of yourself right now, and you're focused on a past you don't want, and you're worried about a future causing anxiety, your energy is split in two separate ways, which means your thoughts and your emotions are in an incoherent thought pattern. That makes sense. That's the duality of man. You're experiencing a version of yourself you don't want to experience, which means that you are out of alignment. You have multiple personalities. We have the version of ourselves that we hide from the world, the version of ourselves that is our shadow, right? We cast a shadow when we are unconscious, when we hide versions of ourselves to the world. That's how we cast the shadow. It's all about integrating it back into this moment, into alignment. And now I'm going to start to bring this full circle. What you actually need to sacrifice is yourself. That is the someone that needs to sacrifice to be awakened. If we sacrifice the version of ourselves that we don't want to show the world, and we forgive ourselves for the past, we no longer have that energy anchored in the past, and we bring that power back to the present. If we take pressure off of the future and remove that anxiety from our life, our energy is no longer in a future. What Joe Dispenza says is you cannot use a past familiar experience to create a new future, because then you're not creating a new future. You have to leave that magic up to the infinite organizing power of the universe. Now let's bring you on center stage. All the attention's going to be on you, this new version of yourself. And we're going to talk about the traits that you need to embody to effortlessly awaken your creator power and be aligned with God. Now you're going to have this new energy. You're going to have this new frequency because you're present. Have you ever really thought about what the concept of being present is? The reason you meditate is so you can become present, so you can come back to the now. What happens when you come back to the now? When you come back to the now, you are in alignment with the quantum field. You are in alignment with the natural state, the 999.9% energy. This is what you're resonating at. Because you have no expectation of a future that you're casting and no judgment of a past, which means you are fully flowing with the present. present. You're flowing with life itself. I always draw the double helix because life, man. You are fully in flow state. Now, what are the traits of flow? You are always transcending the lower states of being that do not serve this alignment. You are in alignment with creation itself. When you are ultimately present, when you have no mind, you have no ego, you have no judgment, you have no expectation of the identity you need to cast. Now, why is this so powerful? This is the one revelation I had that changed everything for me. You do not need to force anything. You do not need to chase anything. What did I just spend the last 23 minutes breaking down? Is that life itself, on a subatomic level, this is the electron cloud, is all energy. This is all potential. When you observe a certain reality, you are collapsing that experience. So if you're in the past or you're in the future, you are using finite human resources to collapse a reality into experience, which is why it's going to be scarce, which is why it's not going to be abundant, which is why it's going to be fearful. Because you are resonating on that more material plane. You are using the material identity you have, the body, the ego, to create that reality. When you awaken God, God takes over. It is the natural life source. You ever seen the movie Avatar, and they go into the forest, all the blue people, the avatars, and there's that blue light glowing. That's what God is. That's what the source is. It's the natural organizing power. You cannot force it. The tides go out and the tides come back. If you go outside, just really take in the concept of a tree for a second, because that thing went from a seed and grew into a 40-foot tall piece of nature. And it did it at its own pace. It did it naturally. It didn't question if it was going to become. It just was. It allowed the natural cycle of life to take its course. And when you stop fighting, the death of resistance is all you need to give your time to. Because as soon as you stop fighting and you can make this one core realization and actually live by it, God, the natural organizing power, will serve you. Because it's your natural state of being. You were created in the image of God. So you embody the traits of creation itself. The infinite abundance, the infinite potential you are. And all you need to do is naturally let it take its course. That's the secret behind manifesting. Because think about it. Everything is an exchange of energy. If everything's 99% energy, it's not about chasing something in the physical world. And I'm going to show you why. As soon as you start to chase something in the physical world, you are making an external source of validation, right? This is where the mirror principle comes into play. And we've talked about this too. And then I'm not going to be too artsy. But let's just go quantum field. Ooh, stars. Because we come from the universe. Now, everything has a spectrum of energy. We know this. And that actually, this is the same experience. This is why it's a mirror. This is the illusion. The material world is the illusion. It's what you think is going on, but it's really a reflection of the frequency you hold in the quantum. Now, the highest frequency is the Tao, pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. And the lowest frequency, ironically, feeds the illusion. It's fear. Fear is just inverted faith. Like, really think about it. Fear is inverted faith. You're saying, I do not trust the universe. I do not trust God. I do not trust the Tao. I do not trust pure consciousness. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying when you say, I'm afraid I won't get it. I have to chase. I have to grab. I need. You are so selfish when you do that. You are actually the thing creating separation from you and God. And that is so hard to do. The hardest state to be in is disconnection from God, because we are the source. Look this is a mirror. It's the same thing. It's just a spectrum. This is a spectrum. This is matter. This is pure energy. That's the secret. If you stop worrying about the material world and you connect with your natural state, you're aligning with the 99%. 99.999%. Meaning all the bullshit below that is 0.001%. You see how much power you're giving such a small slice of the universe? Take your power back. Pure consciousness is a state of being. It is your natural resonance. The secret is you do not have to fight it. That's the biggest thing I want to drill home for you, is that the illusion, imagine this like a mirror, right? And there's a bunch of dust, a bunch of muck on it. The mirror is still the mirror. You just need to wipe away the illusion. It makes so much sense now. These Eastern philosophies, the Taoists, the Buddhists, they were onto something. They were not saying you're not going to have material success. They were saying that as soon as you remove the illusion and stop placing your power and energy and expectation on such a small, finite resource, you transcend into a state of pure consciousness. You embody the traits of creation itself. And when you do that, the natural organizing power of the universe works in your favor. That's the secret. And that's what I want you to take home from this video, is that you are already where you need to be. I was journaling and I realized that life and the material world is chaos, waves of chaos. It's a storm, a big hurricane, and everyone's running away from it. But if you can be in the eye of the storm, unbothered, you have already arrived. The chaos is something to be played with. Creation is chaos. All of this came naturally because I just surrendered. I stopped getting in the way of the truth. I did not have any notes laid out for a video like this. This just came through me. I removed my fear, I removed my anger, I removed my doubt, I removed my concept of self, and I expanded that concept. I expanded that concept to, hey, this is my natural state. This is my pure consciousness. This is my pure awareness of the reality we're experiencing. And I'm no longer fighting it. And I'm choosing to let that energy come through me, and I'm choosing to be a vessel to share that with you. This is why you must sacrifice someone to become God. You must sacrifice your fear. You must sacrifice the illusion. You must sacrifice your anger, your greed, your worry. That's what you sacrifice. Your discipline allows devotion to take shape. And when you devote yourself to this understanding, you are creating a vessel that can continuously bring this experience to people. Isn't that what you want at the end of the day? It was never about the money. It was never about the cars. It was never about the girls. It was so we could look in the mirror at the end of the day and realize we lived a worthy life, that we were who we said we were going to be, that we were in alignment. This is your natural state. This exists behind the scenes. You do not need to fight it. You just need to get out of the way and let it be. So if you like this video, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.